Hi, I'm Katie from Gift of Curiosity, and this is the third of 3 videos I'm sharing on the topic of how to teach the alphabet. So let me start by saying thank you to everyone who has left me a comment or who sent me an email with your questions and ideas about these topics, and especially about my most recent video where I was sharing some of the research showing that letter knowledge is the one pre-reading skill that predicts children's reading development better than any other. Okay, so I am just really passionate about helping parents and teachers and caregivers have tools at their fingertips that they can use to teach letters to their children in a fun and creative and hands-on and multi-sensory way. And that is why I've developed a book, or I've written a book called 101 Ways to Teach the Alphabet, a hands-on approach to learning letters and sounds through play. And it's because I really have a strong conviction that there is just no need to bore kids to death with worksheet after worksheet. That's not the best way for kids to learn. It's not how they enjoy learning. And it's not ultimately what's going to be the most successful way to help them learn the alphabet. There's so many better and more developmentally appropriate ways to help kids learn their letter shapes, letter names, letter sounds, how to write the letters, and how to match letters that are uppercase and lowercase. All right, so between ages 1 and 2, children begin to develop sort of an initial understanding of print. They begin to pay attention to print in their environment. They may start to pick out the first letters of their names when they see them. They start to realize that we read from left to right and from top to bottom. Children between 1 and 2 may start to produce letter-like scribbles and early attempts at writing. So if you have a child at this stage of development, some things you can do are to sing songs and share rhymes that'll help your child develop their phonological awareness and their phonemic awareness. Sing the alphabet song with your child. Label your child's possessions with their name, because that gives children a sense that letters have a functional use in our lives. Provide opportunities for your child to develop their gross and fine motor skills, which will help them down the line when they're ready to start writing more letter-like forms. All right, between ages 3 and 4, children are beginning to identify some letters and make some letter sound matches. Children at this stage are also, a lot of times will start to try to write, and they'll sort of do these squiggly lines across the paper with high and low points like letters. And for them, that is writing. Children may also begin to write words using squiggles or using the few letters that they know. And so if you have a child at this stage, some things I would recommend are to focus on doing activities that promote letter recognition and letter sounds knowledge. Your child may also enjoy starting to write some letters using multi-sensory letter writing activities. For example, you can put shaving cream in a tray and have your child trace letters or write letters in the shaving cream. If your child can form some letters, go ahead and teach your child how to write their name. Have your child dictate stories to you that you then write down and then they can illustrate. And continue to sing songs and rhymes, as well as provide opportunities for fine motor skills development. Between ages 5 and 6, most children begin to recognize all 26 letters and start to know most of the letter sound matches. And children in this age also tend to usually develop the correct pencil grip, what we call the 3-finger grip or the tripod grip. So if you have a child at this stage in their development, engage this child in activities to reinforce any letter sounds that the child is still struggling with. Focus on perfecting the letter formation. If needed, engage your child in letter case matching activities to ensure they know which lowercase letters go with which uppercase letters. And exciting, because children at this stage are ready to begin early reading activities. So when I reached out to people and asked them what they wanted to know about teaching the alphabet, I heard many of the same questions over and over and over again. So a good rule of thumb is to introduce 2 to 4 new letters per week. But keep in mind, this is really just a guideline. The most important thing is to really observe your child and see what they're ready for, and just to follow your child's lead on this. So my advice on this, based on the research really, is to either teach letter names first or to teach letter names and letter sounds at the same time. There is no good research evidence out there suggesting that it's best to teach letter sounds in isolation. But there is quite a bit of research showing that when you teach letter names along with letter sounds, the teaching of the letter names actually reinforces the learning of the letter sounds. So we have a fairly wonky system in English because so many letters make more than one sound, and so many sounds are made by more than one letter. And this can be very confusing for young learners to figure out. So let me take the case of the vowels first, because all 5 vowels in the English language can make at least 2 sounds. But my recommendation is that you start by teaching the short vowel sounds first. And the short vowel sounds are the ones where A says a as in apple, E says e as in egg, I says I as in igloo, O says ah as in otter, and U says as in umbrella. Your child will eventually need to know what we call the long vowel sounds, but they don't really need to know those until after they have mastered reading CVC, or consonant vowel consonant words. And then for the other letters that also make multiple sounds, teach the most common sound first. So teach that the letter G says G, and don't worry about the fact that G can also say J. At least at this point. There will come a time for that, but when we're in the basics of just teaching the alphabet before reading instruction has begun, we don't need to worry about those other sounds at this point. So I think this was actually by far the most common question that I received from people. Everyone wants to know what is the best order for teaching the letters. And it turns out that there's a lot of debate on this topic, with a lot of people weighing in from all sorts of different sides. I think the one thing maybe we can all agree on is that it is not a good idea to teach the letters in alphabetical order, starting with A and ending with Z. Now in my book, I share a number of suggested orders that you could use as you teach the letters, and I explain why you might pick one order over the other, and it really has to do with what your goals are, especially if your goals are to get into reading activities versus to get your child into writing activities. And I will give you one other little tip though. If you're just introducing the letters for the first time, consider starting with the first letter of your child's name. Now, kids just love to learn things that are relevant to them, and teaching the first letter of their name is a great way to grab their interest and hook them into this letter learning journey. So it turns out that developing the proper pencil grip is actually quite a complicated developmental process, and children go through a variety of stages as they develop the proper pencil grip. And in fact, many children do not develop the proper, what we call the tripod or the 3-finger grip, until about 5 or 6 years of age. Now in my book, I explain the various stages that children go through as they work to master the proper pencil grip, and I tell you what to look for at each stage. And I also explain why it can be detrimental to force your child to use the tripod or the 3-finger grip before he or she is developmentally ready. So in my book, I address several other of your most burning questions, including whether to teach uppercase or lowercase letters first, whether to teach print, Danielian, or cursive letters first. I also explain how to teach children to write with the proper strokes and why it matters that they use the proper strokes when writing their letters. And I further discuss the very common issue of letter reversals. I tell you when you should worry, when you shouldn't worry, and I also provide you some resources to help your children learn to keep their B's and their D's straight. So I'm just so thrilled to have been able to put all of this knowledge that I have gained into my book, 101 Ways to Teach the Alphabet. I just know that this book is going to be a fantastic resource for parents and teachers and caregivers who want to make letter learning a fun and successful experience for the children that they are working with. So let me give you a little bit more of an overview of the book. Chapter 1 is where I address your most burning questions about how to teach the alphabet. So why we teach the alphabet, how to teach the alphabet, the most successful ways to teach the alphabet, how to make it relevant to your child, how to address common issues that arise with your child. So all of that's covered in Chapter 1. Now in Chapter 2 is where the fun really begins, because this is where I have more than 20 activities that support children's development of letter recognition skills. So a couple of examples. If you've got a child who loves Play-Doh, I have a Play-Doh letter stamping activity that helps support letter recognition. Or if you have a child who loves playing with toy cars, I show you how you can set up an alphabet parking lot, and through play, your child will begin to start to recognize some of the letters through that activity. Now, when your child is ready to move on to letter sounds, Chapter 3 has more than 30 different activities you can use to help your child learn the letter sounds. A couple of examples: if you have a child who loves pretend kitchen play, I show you how they can cook up their own alphabet soup and learn letter sounds at the same time. I also show you how to set up a life-sized alphabet board game with just a couple of simple materials you probably already have at home, and how you can use that to get kids moving and learning letter sounds at the same time. Now, when children are ready, we start working on letter formation activities, and that's covered in Chapter 4. In Chapter 4, I have more than 30 activities to work on letter formation, and the goal of those activities is to eventually get kids writing the letters correctly on paper. But there's no need for them to start writing on paper. There's so many other things that we could do that especially when kids don't yet have the fine motor skills to be writing very well on paper. So, for example, we use magic paint, and we go outside and we paint letters on the sidewalk. Or if you have a child who loves outer space, you can create a moon sand tray and they can write their letters in moon sand. How cool is that? Finally, Chapter 5 is where I provide a number of activities to help children match uppercase and lowercase letters. And again, it's all through sort of fun, hands-on activities that get them moving and engaged in a hands-on way. So I hope this overview has addressed some of your questions about teaching the alphabet, and I hope it helps you see just how playful letter learning can be. If you'd like to learn more about how to make letter learning a fun and successful experience for your child, follow the link on this page to get more information about my book, 101 Ways to Teach the Alphabet. Until then, keep having fun and keep learning.